Hello and thank you for joining me. This is episode 2 on the mini-series on urban survival and covers fire and stroke cooking. It will be covering sources of ignition, tinder, accelerants, stroke fuel and DIY stoves. Stay with me, it'll be a good one. Source of ignition. So obviously we've got matches or lighters. If you haven't got them, all is not lost. If the lighters run out of fuel and still emits a spark, then all is not lost. Although I would suggest you watch my fairly recent video about an alternative to a ferro rod. And you'll see what I mean by that. Right, you might have, this is all based on a denial of service. So you've got no water, no electric, no gas, for whatever reason. If you've got a gas cooker, you might have a piezoelectric quartz sparker, which is basically a button that you press in, and it emits a spark and that ignites the gas. Now, piezoelectric quartz igniters do not need batteries or power. So the chances are you'll find it works even if you've got no electricity. Basically the quartz, when it's compressed, emits voltage, very high voltage, sort of 50,000 volts plus, because that's how it sparks, but here's what it is, So you've got piezo, possibly the use of a piezoelectric quartz igniter. You might have a camping stove but no gas, that again has a piezoelectric quartz lighter. Or it could be a blowtorch, if you're doing a bit of DIY, something like that. Next, you've got the good old, if you've ever seen anyone using something like oxyacetylene torches, there is a little metal gadget and you squeeze the handles together and there's a little pot and it runs a flint across it and it creates sparks. Is there one in the garage, one in the shed? It's another option. There is a push, you can use something like a D-cell battery, and if you've got it, a chewing gum wrapper, but it has to be foil backed. It does work. There are a few videos on YouTube, so have a look. You need a D-cell battery. You need something where the terminals are quite far apart, and you need to cut the foil backed wrapper into a bow tie shape or a hourglass shape basically, and the middle bit needs to be as thin as possible. And then when you short the battery out with it, the thin bit in the middle gets hot and ignites. It's very quick. If you don't get it right, it's going to go wrong. So it needs practice if you want to go that route. And potentially where you're holding it onto the battery, it's going to get hot and you burn yourself. But it is an option if all else fails. You could utilise a battery in your car. However, I'm going to say caution here, because the way to do it could potentially bugger up your car, especially modern cars with all the computers in it and that. You could potentially damage your vehicle that could result in thousands of pounds worth of repair bills. So again, it's survival, If you don't get a fire going for whatever reason and the outcome is that you are likely to die, then sod the car, If it's a temporary thing and you're confident that you can outlast the issue, then don't damage your car. But that would basically be, you can either get a piece of wire, multi-strand cable. It needs to be fairly thick, and what you're going to do is short the battery out, and when you do that it's going to get very hot and potentially set fire to things, including your fingers. But what you would do there is you'd actually strip part of the cable down. So say it's got, I don't know, say 16 strands of cable in it. The end of it, you're going to strip it down and only use one strand. So in effect what you've done is you've reduced the size of the cable, so you've reduced its capability to carry large current, and that thin bit is going to glow and get very hot and burn out. So if you was to add a bit of prepared tinder with an accelerant in it and do that, then your tinder will ignite. But again, you've got to be very careful about damage to the vehicle or burning yourself, but it is an option. Same thing if you've got a pair of jumper leads, onto a battery, touch them together, you're going to get a big shower of sparks. That potentially is going to bugger your car up, but again, it gives you the sparks. If you've got a bit of tinder with ideally some accelerant on it, then that will ignite. So it's another option, but as I say, it depends on the situation. it would mean that you need to prep in advance. Yeah, so if you're going to go that route, get a bit of tinder, put some accelerant on it and be prepared. It's no good doing it and then faffing about looking for something else, because you're just wasting time and using up resources. Then of course there is the old favourite, the wire wall. You might have some wire wall tucked in the back of the shed somewhere. You might have been cleaning some tools with it or whatever, and a PP3 battery, which is a 9-volt battery. So take the battery out your smoke detector, yeah, stick it into the wire wall, it will ignite, yeah. So then we're going on to tinder. We've obviously spoken about sources of ignition, and we need some tinder, something that's going to capture that spark or that mini fire or that glow of the cable, and then ignite and give you enough burn time to then transfer that onto, yeah, fuel basically. So the old favourite, tumble dryer lint. If you've got a condensing tumble dryer, yeah, you can pull the little lid out, the sleeve out, and there will be lint in there that's basically cotton particles, etc., that get drawn off the clothes when it's cleaning. Very flammable. You've got sanitary products such as tampons, yeah, fluff one of those up, again it will catch a spark, it will ignite. Cotton wool balls, exactly the same sort of principle as the tampons or sanitary products. Or you've got cotton wool discs that ladies use for removing, well, I suppose then some blokes, but if you're that way inclined, cotton wool discs for removing makeup, etc. Or a dressing in the first aid kit, exactly the same, yeah, pull a bit out, fluff it up. So they're just some ideas of tinder that you might have in your home, yeah. Now you're looking at an accelerant, because these tinders, whilst they will catch fire, if you've got an accelerant on there, it will catch fire easier and potentially burn longer, and that will give you an opportunity to move it into your fire or whatever, yeah. It's no good doing it and your tinder burns so quickly that by the time you get to actually place it in the fire, it's extinguished. Right, booze, yeah, something with a high percentage of alcohol, so vodka, gin, etc. But don't go splashing that all over your tinder just yet, because we've got another use for that, and it doesn't involve drinking. Yeah, so your alcohol with a high alcohol content, that's spirits, aftershave or perfume. Generally speaking, it is 60% alcohol. Yeah, your missus might batter you if you're getting a Chanel No. 5 and pouring it over a bit of cotton wool, but it has got a very high alcohol content and is a good accelerant. White spirit, you might have it in the shed, you've been doing a bit of decorating, yeah, keeping your paintbrushes clean. Again, it's flammable. Hand sanitizer gel, that's got a high alcohol content, usually around 70%, again, that will burn. Rubbing alcohol, meths, surgical spirit, they're all basically the same product. Don't get them confused though with white spirit, because the chemical composition is completely different. Brasso, which is a little red and white, or it used to be, tin, and there's some like wadding in there with a chemical in there, which I believe is petroleum based, and it's for cleaning brass, but the brand name is Brasso. There probably are other products. That's flammable. Petroleum jelly, yeah, not to be confused with the KY jelly, because that's water based and you want something that is petroleum based. So petroleum jelly, aka Vaseline. Chaffing gel, is it called chaffing or chafing? Chafing gel. Alcohol prep pads that you might have in a first aid kit. You've probably got pads in there, just check though, a lot of them are not alcohol based, they're sort of saline or water based, but your alcohol prep pads will ignite. Alcohol lens wipes, yeah, so have a look if you've got lens wipes. Some of them are alcohol based, some are not. It's the alcohol based ones that would be of use to you. Vicks vapor rub, yeah, when you was a little chavvy, you was poorly, had a cold, your mum come along, rub a bit of Vicks on your chest, stick a bit under your router, yeah, again, flammable. Hair wax, yeah, if you're a tart and you've got a barnet, a full barnet, yeah, and you use hair products like hair wax, gentlemen, flammable. Chapstick, yeah, again, flammable, so flame extender. So they are some accelerants. Now you can either add some of them to your tinder to make it burn longer and to ignite easier, but what you can also use is some of these as fuel for your DIY get me out of trouble stove. Now, many years ago, well over 10 years ago I suspect, there was a guy on Bushcraft UK, Monkey Boy, and he invented, I believe it is his invention, so he's getting the credit for it, the Monkey Boy stove, which is basically a small tin with a material in it that is non-flammable. You then add a flammable liquid, which is usually meths or rubbing compound, surgical spirit, etc. To it, you ignite that, the non-flammable material in it actually holds the liquid, then you light it, and that acts as a giant wick, and it works. This is one I made years ago from a 177 pellet, airgun pellet tin. The non-flammable material's in there, and I put a little bit of gauze over the top of that just to keep it compact. And there is exactly the same in a different type of tin, exactly the same thing. They do work, they do work. But from our urban survival series, yeah, we're looking to improvise. Now this non-flammable substance I keep referring to is loft insulation. Yeah, that big, thick, nasty glass fibre based makes you itch material that you have in lofts. It's non-flammable for obvious reasons. Yeah, if your house catches fire, they don't want it to be able to burn, so it's non-flammable. But it acts as a sponge and a wick. And it needs to be non-flammable. It's no good using cotton wool, because if you light it, the cotton wool will burn as well, you have nothing left. So, yeah, you got no electric, no gas. You want to cook because you need to prepare, you need to disinfect your water, or you want to heat up a meal or a hot drink. Something like a tuna can. Yeah, once you've consumed the content, use the can. You'll see that obviously that is much bigger than that. The idea being that by having it larger, it will hold more fuel, you'll get a longer burn time. And if you're in a little family or whatever, then instead of having to faff about and have to do something 4 times with that, for instance, you might get away with just 1 or 2 times doing it in this. So tuna can, yeah, eat the contents. Doesn't got to be a tuna can, salmon can, any can, but you want a can that's that sort of size. Get up in your loft, get a handful of loft insulation, pack it into the tin. Now ideally, but it's not essential, you want a fine wire mesh to then place on top to compress it, which is what you can possibly see in those. You might have an anti-splatter shield. I remember seeing them in a pan shop years ago. It's just a round disc of metal gauze with a handle. The idea being is if you're having a fry up, you place it over the top of your frying pan and it reduces it exploding around your kitchen, yeah, from splattering out. With the smaller tins, the go-to is usually a tea strainer, but obviously a metal one. Yeah, it's no good having a plastic one. And you would just cut the gauze out and again do that. But if you've got a frying pan anti-splash screen, something like that. Have you got a bird feeder in the garden that you normally put nuts in, which is a metal gauze if you like, yeah. Around it you could get your scissors, cut that out, open that up and use that. Just bear in mind some of these might be, well, especially the bird feeder, not the tea strainer or the anti-splatter thing, but a bird feeder is likely to be galvanised steel. Galvanised metal, when it's burnt off, reduces fumes. That is not good for humans. So if you're going to do that, stick it on there, burn it off outside. Once it's burnt off, then you haven't got to worry about it. The good thing about using this type of stove is that you're going to run it on surgical spirit, rubbing alcohol, meth, not white spirit, perfume, booze with a high content, yeah, gin, whiskey, vodka, something like that. I'm not talking about pouring lager in it, yeah. And alcohol, when it's burnt, get me teeth in. It produces very little carbon monoxide, yeah. Burning alcohol is one of the safest fuels to use indoors. So grid down, no electric or gas, so you can't cook. You can use an alcohol stove. You still want some ventilation, yeah, use a bit of common sense, but it produces minimal carbon monoxide, Whereas if you're stupid and drag in a barbecue indoors, or a portable barbecue, or decide to get some wood and have a fire in the middle of your room, yeah, because it doesn't combust very well, it will produce large amounts of carbon monoxide, which are fatal. So that's your warning, don't be stupid. Yeah, so you want to use something that's going to burn alcohol. That moves us on. We've got our alcohol burner, and we need a pot stand. Yeah, so you've got to be a little bit clever here. You're not going to be able to place your pot directly on it because you'll snuff it out. No oxygen, yeah, it's not going to burn. So you want something that's going to put your pot approximately 1.5 inches to 2 inches above your burner. No more, because you've got too much air to heat up. No less, because it won't be as efficient. So you're looking at 1.5 to 2 inches above. Egg cups, yeah. If that was down on your worktop or whatever it is you're going to use as a base for it, get 3 egg cups, upturn them, yeah, rest your pot on it. It could be a stack of coins, yeah, you've just got to improvise, a stack of coins. It could be a small piece of wood with some nails banged into it in a triangle basis, yeah. So you've got a pot stand, so you've got to improvise something that's going to suspend your pot 1.5 to 2 inches above your burner. Now, talking of pots, ideally you want something like a saucepan, but what you want, if you've got it, is an aluminium pot. A lot of stainless steel saucepans, because they're made for cooking, have a much thicker base. Yeah, so once it gets hot, you don't get hot spots in it, so you can cook better. You don't want that. You want the thinnest amount of material between the water that you're going to be boiling and the heat from the stove. So ideally it would be a small aluminium saucepan, because it will conduct the heat much quicker to get the water hotter quicker. That means you use less fuel. Yeah, so if you've got a cheapy saucepan that you don't use that much, an aluminium one, then I'd much rather use that than a pack of stainless steel one that's 1/4 inch thick at the bottom or whatever. Yeah, because that's going to be take much longer to actually get the water to boil, which means you're going to be using more fuel. And potentially, if you're in this situation that you're doing what I'm suggesting as ideas, things are going to be in short supply. Okay, you might even decide that you've got a small baking tin, you know, what you make a little loaf in, for instance. That might be better than using a big stainless saucepan that's got a thick bottom, etc., because the heat transfer through it will be quicker. Another option with the same tin like that is if you haven't got spirits, you're not going to loft insulation and then using an alcohol based fuel. If you've got loads of hand sanitizer left over from COVID, yeah, that's alcohol based as a gel. Again, take your tin, consume the contents, give it a cat, whatever. Put your fuel, your alcohol gel inside the tin, ignite that. Same thing, pot stand 1.5 to 2 inches above with your vessel, and that will have the same effect. If you can't do either of them, then the only other option open to you is to venture outside. Yeah, and then you're going to be making a fire. And as I say, outside, not inside. Yeah, dig a hole. Yeah, put some wood down, some twigs down, make a platform, do your fire, build your fire, ignite your tinder in there, blah, blah, blah. Think about, you can take a shelf out of your oven, out of your cooker, and then rest that on the top of the hole. Yeah, and then you've got a surface, you can put your pot on that. If you've got a bit of bacon left over, you can, you know, grill your bacon, whatever. But that's another option. Also, consider having a quick a quick YouTube search will do for hobo stoves. Yeah, a lot of them are made using an IKEA cutlery drainer. Not hard to make. It is though obviously for burning wood, that type of thing. So again, it will be outside use, but it gives you a pot stand because that is the cutlery drainer. and you can have a little confined fire in that, so you're not using as much fuel, but you do have to keep an eye on it because you have to feed it more frequently. So that's about it really. I don't think I've got any more to add. If you found the video useful, give us one of them. Consider subscribing if you're not already subscribing. It does help. I want to get my numbers up. I want to get the videos out there so they're seen more frequently. And as always, give us some comments. If you can think of some items that are flammable that you might have in your property that you can use as an accelerant, then share. Yeah? If you thought of another way of creating an improvised stove, then please do share. If it's something I've not heard from, then then I'm going to learn as well. And it's all about learning. Anyway, I'll shut up. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. The next episode will be the final one, and that is going to be basically sanitation. See you soon.